Tom walks over and goes, "We're going to talk about the All-Star game." Of course we're going to talk about the All-Star game. What's up, man? Day 2. You ready?
I'm ready. You know, they call this radio row, right? Mm-hmm. Well, I'm going to call it radio obstacle course because I came up way over there and I had to navigate, all the little ins and outs and corners. But it's good to be here.
I like this perch we have behind us because I can look out and I can see you and Wally typing away over there, and Bob, and they've obviously got an ode to Bob as well.
Yeah.
They got us in a good spot, man.
This is a great perch for you guys because you got the view back down onto the main deal. And this is the first time I've been up this week. And, nice.
We're your first. Let's go.
All right, so Kirby Smart has already been up this morning. Tell us what you heard. We were doing the show, and by the time we tuned in, he had walked away. So tell us what Kirby Smart had to say.
Well, he said fire, energy, passion. He probably said that about 5 different times. So I guess that's their theme this year.
Print the T-shirt.
Yeah, but, I didn't realize, and I've got their preview for our series of stories on all the teams, but I didn't realize that they have so much turnover. They have a ton of turnover, especially on the fronts, both sides of the line. So it's going to be a real tester year because Georgia's been up there for many years in a row now, competing for it all. And this, to me, will be a real tester because there are some other really good teams in the conference. And, you think Alabama will be better, and they play Alabama. So all that's going on. And then he's had the funniest line of the morning so far because someone asked him, there was a rumor yesterday that Nick Saban might be considering, getting back into coaching.
Yeah.
And his response, I guess he'd already thought of this, but his response was quick and it was funny. He said, "Well, I thought about giving him offering him Muschamp's job, but it turns out he's overqualified for that." So he got the gig. He got the gig Muschamp. Then later he goes, "But really, we all know the answer to the question. That question is going to be decided by the boss of that house, and that's Miss Terry." So he got the gig Muschamp on one end of it and gig Saban on the other end.
I know,
good stuff.
Tom, I know you used to work in Alabama, and it was and help me on this. You came, were you there for 1 year of Nick Saban, or did you come over right when Houston was last year at Arkansas?
Okay, so I got the Shula firing. I was there for the Saban hiring, which was, if you all remember, it was a long process. The Dolphins had several games left. And he actually at one point said, "Do I have to say it? I'm not going to be the coach of Alabama."
Right.
I was home for Christmas break, and all my sources were telling me they're going after Saban. Just wait until the end of the season. So it was a long, drawn-out it was the Rick Rodriguez was going to be hired, and then he wasn't. Mm-hmm. Long process. But so I was there for that. His first spring, I was there for the entirety. Got to know him. And then the first 2 or 3 days of camp. And in the meantime, I had interviewed with Wally Hall in the Democrat-Gazette. So 1 week or so of camp at Alabama, and then I finished up Houston's camp. I think they started it a couple of days later than Bama did.
Because you mentioned Miss Terry. I was in Tuscaloosa, I guess it was in 2023, and I just assumed there was like a vice president because I was in Des Moines when Vice President Harris was there. And they kicked us out of the elevator and did the same thing in Tuscaloosa. So I was like, okay, so someone politically is here. That's why. Turns out it was Miss Terry with 6 security guards. And I was blown away by you get out of the way, we're making room for her because she is, Saban's obviously royalty there in Tuscaloosa, but she's the exact same way.
She really is too. And he'll let you know, he said it at this event many times, she's the boss in that household. And she was. And from the very moment he arrived, so I went to the little private airport across the river as he landed and all that. And it was hysteria. There was a wreck on the bridge over the Black Warrior River going back to him going to his press conference. And cause I think people were rubbernecking, and somebody ran into somebody on the bridge. It was that chaotic of a day when he was hired. And he lived up to all that hype. I mean, He's the best coach college football's ever seen.
Tom Murphy, Arkansas Democrat-Gazette, Whole Hog Sports with us. Brian Kelly, Shane Beamer, Lane Kiffin, Clark Lee all yesterday. Takeaways from day one as you soaked in all 4 of those coaches on the first day of SEC Media Days.
Well, let's see. It wasn't a super riveting day. I was pleased to hear that Shane Beamer gave a little tribute to Bob Holt. Bob's placard and a credential for him are right next to where I am, and so that was touching. And then Kirby Smart also did that today. He mentioned Bob. He said, "We need the honorary first question. It ought to be called the Bob Holt question." But, here we go. So we had Beamer yesterday. I wasn't blown away. Lane Kiffin always seems to have something on with his demeanor where he's not enthusiastic about things.
Yeah.
But I think it's along good information and all. And they lost so many players. I'm writing about Ole Miss right now for our paper tomorrow. But they went to the portal hard. I counted it up. I think 33 portal players. 9 of them are from the SEC, and 3, as we know, are from Arkansas. They got Braxton, Haz, and Patrick Kudus, and those all are going to be contributors. So they're going to be pretty solid.
I've been floating a theory this morning, and it kind of where my mind's at. Would you say there's a lack of excitement with the fan base right now around Razorback football?
I'm a little bit insular, but that's the way it feels.
It feels that
to
way.
me.
And I think there's cases that you can point to in other places, and I think maybe the excitement at this point is down in more places than it's been. And I'm of the opinion that we've got so many. You just mentioned the roster turnover with Ole Miss and how many players they got in the portal. Arkansas's roster is essentially 50% new players from last year. Fans don't get a chance to really develop bonds and relationships with players because a player like Luke Haas would be someone that would excite you to come back and watch another season. He won't be here. So, if you ask most fans on the street, they couldn't tell you probably more than a handful of players. I think that's leading to a problem for the sport that you've got to figure out a way to get fans more emotionally connected to the players on the roster when the rosters are turning over. And I don't know if this new House bill and the court order and all this is going to there's some talk that the transfer options are going to be minimized. I think that it's a real problem no one's talking about with the sport right now.
Well, that's a great point, and I think it takes a lot more elaborate answer than I can give in our allotted time here. But I will say, I think all the coaches are very concerned right now about the way transfers are going. And it was Greg Sankey, or no, it was one of the coaches who was there yesterday, somebody, who said – maybe there should just be one transfer. No, this was John Calipari the other day. One transfer.
Yeah.
And then after that, you sit out a year.
Yeah.
So they can't just shuffle around. I don't know if that will be enacted, but it is a real problem. And I think at Arkansas it's magnified because it came at the same time that NIL was introduced, and they were just behind. I mean, let's be honest. They were behind when NIL came in, and they're playing catch-up. Mm-hmm. And I agree. I like to know who's coming back. And honestly, it was a big keep for them that Xavier Sori and Steven Dix are both at linebackers. That's a touchstone. The second level on defense should be pretty good. Then Taylor Green's back. But I hated that they lost some of the guys they lost, Haz and all those, because those are the ones that fans get to know him. Yeah. Oh, it's his third year. Is he going to be improved? And so it's a deep problem that Arkansas is going to have to find ways to address, and perhaps revenue sharing might help.
And talking about revenue sharing and then what goes beyond that, I thought Lane Kiffin gave some good insight as to where his mind's at on, hey, what do you do? And where's enforcement on this? Because you and I have talked about this for years now. Okay, you can have rev share, but if we're not going to limit or have some boundaries on, air quotes, NIL, then what have we really done other than up the ante here with this new court order that's coming out and that the Congress will codify at some point?
He did. He was very. And someone asked him a question about what have you thought of the implementation of revenue sharing? His first response was, well, it was supposed to keep everybody within the cap, but it's not doing that. I mean, that's what he said right off the bat. So basically, he understands there's tampering going on. People are outspending what the revenue share portion should be. Now, whether
didn't he say luxury A&M should pay a luxury tax?
Did.
I think he said that.
He referenced that he said that a few years ago about A&M should have a luxury tax. Shane Beamer used the same terminology you and I have used for years on this show. It needs to have teeth. Will it have teeth? To me, that's one of the looming questions. Will the College Sports Commission have the teeth to enforce, to make teams pay for not using NIL the proper way? Otherwise, we're gonna just see the same thing that with the implementation of the of start of NIL.
What good is a speed limit if there's no state troopers?
Exactly.
And I think a lot of people are kind of like me. They don't want state troopers and they don't want a speed limit. And that's where you find the people at the top of the sport right now. Ohio State, Alabama, Georgia. No, they're not really interested in enforcement, honestly.
No.
It's Ole Miss, Arkansas, the middle to bottom of the pack of every conference that, if you're going to give everybody a equal starting line and an equal chance, then there's got to be some kind of limit and enforcement on those rules, or the rich will just get richer.
You're right, but it's funny hearing Kiffin say that because their NIL was structured pretty nicely out of the gate. That's why the Grove, and they got off to a great start, and they were acquiring players, and they were acquiring a lot of Division I FBS players.
But it still didn't lead to a playoff spot.
No, and I'm just looking over how they lost. I was watching most of the games. The Kentucky game at home. What are you doing?
Yeah.
Kentucky had a bad year. And then at the end of the season, if they just go and beat Florida, they're going to be in the playoff. They got Mississippi State next. That's it. But they lose to Florida by a touchdown.
Atlanta's been, to say the center of the universe might be understating what Atlanta has been the last few days. SEC Media Days isn't even on the radar of what's going on in Atlanta. I mean, seriously, it's not. And a lot of times when SEC Media Days rolls into Dallas or Nashville, and certainly when it was in Birmingham, Hoover, it was the biggest thing happening in town, or at least that part. Last night, the Major League Atlanta they had a fan event, but they have the draft, and then last night the home run derby. Tonight is the Major League Baseball All-Star game. You and I are going to go. I had a couple tickets fall just out of an Angel's hands into ours, and you and I are going to go take in the All-Star game. I knew you would love this because Atlanta guy, Braves fan, and I knew you would appreciate. So
I will be forever grateful.
Well,
that we're going to the Truist Park. It'll be my first time.
I've never been to an All-Star game of any kind.
I haven't either.
Let's go.
Not even close.
No.
And I was talking to Wally about, you think I ought to go? Or he's like, how often is the All-Star game going to be in your hometown? And you have a chance to go. And I said, 0. This is the only opportunity.
Yeah.
So I'm going.
Yeah.
But I'm going to argue with you on one point. I think the SEC Media Days is making a splash. But in our hotel, there were more cowboy hats than helmets.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, it was stunning to see the number of people walking around with cowboys. Because I guess she's on her country, the Carter Tour or whatever that is.
Oh, this hotel's been filled with, younger to middle-aged women that are clearly not dressed up to go to the All-Star game. Let's just put it that way. They're clearly
right.
not here for media days.
But I'm proud of my hometown. All this is going on at one time, and I know there's been a lot of traffic jams around this area specifically, but all this at once is really kind of amazing, and it's that type of a city right now.
I mean, I went to a Taylor Swift show with my daughters. This might be on the same level of fandom and fame as her.
To play 4 nights in a row, I guess it's all the same venue. What used to be Phillips, maybe State Farm Arena now, something like that. To have 4 nights is pretty stunning.
Pretty cool. I know you don't necessarily call yourself a soccer fan, but are you doing that Atlanta United thing tomorrow?
Well, we're kicking that around. I'd like to go see a live Major League Soccer game. That would be fun. But I think we might end up having an ADG dinner.
Okay.
Talk about the season.
Put it on Wally.
We will.
Tom Murphy with this Whole Hog Sports Arkansas Democrat-Gazette. So I listened, and you mentioned the possibility of Nick Saban getting back. Colton, if you could play this clip, because McElroy kind of clarified. He was on his show on WJOX in Birmingham, and then went on another show with Pat Smith-Landrum, who are friends of ours, and he kind of talked about like the possibility of Saban coming back, which might be the biggest story. Take a listen.
I did have a couple of people that I respect say, don't rule out Coach getting back in it. He's too competitive. I think he loves the game too much. Like, don't rule it out. I'm like, no way. Come on. That was my reaction like everybody else. Rule. Come on, get out of here. No, I was like, just saying, don't rule it out. I'm like, all right, that's cool. I'll ask Paul. You know what I mean? like Paul's connected. I'll ask him on the show on Monday. So I asked him point blank. I was like, Paul, I wouldn't ask the question if it weren't a couple people I trust and respect that seem to think that this is a possibility. And Paul and I both kind of laugh like, no, absolutely not. I don't see it as a likelihood. Like, he's completely content doing what he's doing. I don't get it. So I just am surprised that basically me asking Paul if he had more information on it has now turned into Coach Saban has taken the Miami Dolphins head coaching job.
So, my thing is, he's cut from a different cloth. About Saban, right? We would describe him that. And I know it looks like he's enjoying media, But like when I heard McElroy say that on his show yesterday, and then I listened to him kind of clarify this, I wouldn't entirely surprise me if he tried to get back into coaching.
There's no winner or loser at the end of the day in the media. I mean, we can talk about ratings and all these things, but that's what someone cut from the cloth that Nick Saban. At the end of the day, there needs to be a scoreboard, and someone won, someone lost, and he doesn't have that in his life right now, and that's hard. And he's not on a team. That's the other thing I hear coaches talk about. You know, from Pop Warner all the way through, they've been on a team their whole life. They coached or played, and they've always been a member of a team. Yeah. I know you're a member of your broadcast team. That's not, it's not the same. So I think those are hard things for someone to get out of their system, Tom.
I think you're right. It's an intriguing thought, and obviously, being the legendary coach he is, that's why it's such a to-do about this. And I don't claim to know him well. I mean, I obviously met him, covered his team during that spring. But I think he is phenomenal on the air. I think what he brings to the broadcast is really cool. So I like him in that role, and I would prefer to see him in that role. I think his hearing's a little bit down, and I just don't know if college – I think the college game was frustrating to him, the NIL part and all. Yeah. And I also think Miss Terry will make the final decision.
But we watched Gus Malzahn leave his job at Central Florida to be a coordinator. We've seen others leave the game. But if revenue sharing comes in and coaches now don't have to go out and panhandle for money from donors, and you take a lot of that, and you've got a general manager to deal with all the nonsense and the BS that a coach would someone like a Saban maybe be a little more enticed if some of the just shenanigans that were going on with NIL were no longer a mess and in their hair?
I think those factors would play into him leaning that way. But again, he's 70-something. Yeah. And I think they value what they do at home, him and Miss Terry, and I don't know. Well, she holds some sway in that family.
Well, I heard her. Miss Terry's family owns land in Arkansas, and I heard that Saban was wearing a red tie at the powerhouse. Nice. So, I mean, I don't know. I don't know. That's the kind of stuff that's going to go around in every fan base as long as until he comes out and squashes it.
Okay. Well,
but he also squashed the Alabama job once before he took it. So.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I had to write that. I mean, I'm at my in-laws' house writing. Nick Saban said after the Dolphins game against, I think it was the Jaguars or somebody, the Bengals.
It's like
that he said, "Do I have to say it? I'm not going to be the Alabama coach."
It's like the Texans college kid that asked Schlossnagle right after they lost the College World Series to Tennessee. He's like, "Are you going to take the Texas job?" And he went off on him. And then, like, the next day, he took I had that public BS apology to that kid. That's similar circumstances.
But you think about a Mike Krzyzewski. You think about a Roy Williams. You think about a Jay Wright. I don't think Nick Saban left completely because of NIL, but it was clearly a factor. I referenced Malzahn stepping down from a head coaching job. Those are just a few examples that come to mind around college sports in general. Clean up some of that, and coaches have a GM or athletic departments have a GM like a Remy Cofield at Arkansas. Maybe some of these legends that have made their money and really are doing it for the love of the game, maybe they don't exit as quick. Maybe they're likely to come back or
maybe you're right. Maybe you're right, Tom.
Maybe I'm wrong.
I was trying to think. My mind was racing, trying to think of guys who'd retired and then came back. And
coaches wise or players?
Yeah, coaches like who came back, and I'm trying to think of one, but in my mind it didn't go as well, or not as well as they had planned.
I guess the Arkansas connection I would think about would be Coach Horton, because he went on what the Coach Harold Horton, like the private sector for a number of years, right? If I remember, I'm going back to listen to Coach Tim talk about it, and then jump back into coaching. If I remember that right.
Yeah, I mean, and was very successful at UCA.
From a college and an NFL standpoint.
Well, I mean, you think, I don't know, Gene Chiswick's a guy that left and went to, and he didn't retire. He got fired. I mean, I think about coaches that got fired. You think about a Bruce Pearl. He was out for a while, came back. Obviously, he's been successful. I'm just trying to think, some of them went into broadcasting, like Saban, and have come back.
Here's a couple.
Those weren't what I would call a retirement,
That's a
though.
good one.
would be a better one.
Yeah, I'm thinking more of the age of Saban.
Yeah.
'Cause that's pretty rare to be at his age and then come back. But Mac Brown, there was another one that popped in my head and is gone. But I don't know, man. I think for his legacy, I prefer that he not come back. I truly enjoy his commentary on TV. It's great.
And there's nothing he can do to enhance his place in the game and where his legacy. I mean, there ought to be a whole wing here for him at this Football Hall of Fame. I mean, I don't know what more he could do to bolster his value to the game. Probably could do more staying out and trying to be a voice for the sport and maybe shepherd it in some way.
I think he's been influential in just the last year. Some of the things he said. Now, I did see that they played a highlight for an upcoming show. It was about the playoffs last year. Oh, it was the Vanderbilt game, where he said the only place in this league that's not hard to play is Vanderbilt. It was the Vanderbilt upsetting them.
And if I remember that correctly, he was on Pat McAfee in Vanderbilt Stadium when he said that.
Yeah.
And then they, like you said, proceeded to beat them the next day. And speaking of Vanderbilt, Diego Pavia has not lacked confidence here this week, Tom. He was wearing a tux on Monday. He said some things in the offseason about Tennessee and I think another program or two. I'm curious to see how Vanderbilt was like no one saw them coming last year, and now people see them coming. I'm curious how they do this year.
That's a great point because they're just not a program with all that tradition and all. And so you do wonder, is it sustainable? And to hear Clark Lee talk about it, he thinks it is. But Clark Lee speaks in a lot of catchphrases, so he's a little bit hard to listen to the whole time through.
Tom, looking forward to it tonight. Uber will be downstairs after Steve Sarkisian.
It's going to be a day focused on work.
After Steve Sarkisian.
It's going to be a day focused on work, knowing there's this little rainbow.
Light at the end of the tunnel.
At the end, it's going to be.
Just know that rainbow at the end of it's not a pot of gold. It's a hot dog and a beer at the ballpark.
And is there anything better than that?
No.
At Truist Park, man.
No. I mean, that'd be
You
awesome.
can tell how he ended the Truist Park.
Yeah. All right, I'll see you later today, my
Later,
friend.
guys.
All right, Tom Murphy, Whole Hog Sports, Arkansas Democrat-Gazette, with us here on Radio Row at the College Football Hall of Fame at SEC Media Days.
BetOnline continues to be your number one source for all your sports betting action. And with baseball in full swing and football season right around the corner, BetOnline has more ways to stay in on the action with the latest odds, news, and scores, even live in-game betting. From MLB, UFC to tennis and NFL futures, BetOnline remains your choice for sports wagering information. In between games, head over to the BetOnline Casino with all the top Vegas-style games, including poker and live casino. Head to the website today and take advantage of their industry-leading VIP program with level-up bonuses and weekly cash boosts. BetOnline. The game starts here.